We are now going to move to the final part of this DVD, which when it comes to Rossolimo, and this is on bishop b5, move e6. With move e6, basically black is asking white a question. You want to take on c6 to double my pawns, or you don't? Because if you don't, I'm going to play move knight e7. So, you get it done or you don't. White has here tried many different plans. Taking on c6, of course, being one of the main moves, or the main move. b3, trying to develop the bishop. d4, opening up the position, was also played. c3, castles, all those moves. Since this is not a theory DVD, and DVD has to do with this structure, I'm going to focus only on move bishop takes c6 because it is somehow aligned with the other material what we have. In this particular case, when pawn is on e6, it doesn't make any sense here to take dc6. This would be a grave mistake because we have seen that in other lines where we have g6, bishop g7, or when we take dc6, that pawn never goes to e6. Pawn always goes to e5 or stays on e7. So obviously dc6 would be a massive positional blunder. b takes c6. What black wants to do, black actually here is very flexible and he wants to sometimes build up a pawn center, almost like in Nimzo-Indian, colors reversed. Very often we get here some plans which can resemble to Nimzo-Indian colors reversed. Main move for white is move d3. Move b3 was played actually by Magnus Carlsen versus Rajabov in London 2013 in the candidates. And what I actually didn't know, I only learned this by making material for this DVD. In our main line, a main game, which would be this very beautiful, even though which would be very beautiful win by Carlsen versus Anish Giri, I thought that the plan which Carlsen did in the game was his invention, but actually no, it was invention of Rajabov, who actually did it versus Carlsen. So Magnus played move b3, and d6 followed. Castles, knight e7, e5. White wants to break black pawn structure. And if black plays move like d5, okay, then white can play in a Nimzo-Indian style. Almost like he's playing versus Semish. What Rajabov did is the exact plan which Magnus is going to follow himself with black versus Giri. He played here a very good decision. Knight g6. E d6. Moves like bishop b2 could be considered. And then black can still insist on what happened in the game. He can still insist. Knight g6, c d6, bishop d6. We see now the reason for black's decision. Decision is that, okay, I have these lousy pawns, true, but I will build a center. And the strong center which I will build is not going to give you possibility to attack my pawns, because you will be busy defending yourself against attack on a king's side. Here actually black is better. Black will get better. Rook e1 castles. Also black plays, Rajabov plays straightforward. d3, f5. Bishop a3. What can Magnus do? He focuses on only weakness. Bishop e6. Knight a4, focusing on only weakness. Queen e7. c4, trying to focus weakness. To fix the weakness. Rook a d8. Queen e2. bishop c8. Black is clearly better. White cannot take advantage of this pawn weakness. Black has great pawn center and attacking possibilities. White two pieces, while attacking this pawn, are out of play should any action happen on a king side. Magnus managed to save the game, but this very plan, what Rajabov did in a game, knight e7, e5, knight g6, is the plan that Magnus is going to do himself in the game versus Giri. I am wondering whether Giri knew for a game Carlsen Rajabov before playing his own game with the white versus Magnus. Maybe he did, maybe not, because somehow it escaped my attention and I only noticed it while collecting material for this DVD. So d3, most played move. Knight e7. Queen c2 is also played with idea to push e5. This has been played by a number of strong players, including Carlsen in his internet blitz versus Firuza. Knight e7. h4. Okay, white is getting ready to... White wants to actually force black to play move h5, because if you don't play move h5, you want to play move knight g6, I want to hit you with h5. Move b3, allowing knight g6, was played actually by Caruana versus Carlsen, and on h4, h5, pushing e5 here. Magnus played move here f6, trying to deal with his center in a different way. Actually, due to this move order, it was a rapid game, so I would not pay terribly much attention to this. I would just say that due to this move order, black has here tactical possibility to handle situation by pushing c4. Which I think Magnus did not do because it was a rapid game and it escaped his attention. Even if you are world champion in rapid games, of course, you are not equally strong. Because dc4, knight e5 is simply black is doing very well. If bishop b2, bishop b4 check. Now if c3, bishop e7, dc4, c5. With bishop e7 to follow, pawn is hanging, this bishop is a dead piece. Black is here already better. This is not compensation, this is more than compensation. And if king f1 on a check, king f1, let's say cd3, queen d3, a5, black has a great game. It looks like some strange structure, almost like it happened from these funny anti-Sveshnikov variations, but black is doing really well here. In the game happened f6, and Caruana played move knight bd2, which is very interesting pawn sacrifice. Very interesting pawn sacrifice because fe5, and maybe totally underestimated by Magnus. Maybe Magnus simply thought that on f6, white will need to react. But actually knight bd2, if fe5, queen e2, d6, this position is not clear. At least not clear to me. Queen e4, knight e7, okay, king is in the center. This is true. But white is also a pawn up. White is also a pawn down. I mean, black is a pawn up as a compensation for these kings in the center. And is having these massive pawns in front of him. Your engine, however, will tell you that white is having full compensation after bishop, let's say b7, knight f5, bishop e2, knight f5, castles, bishop d7, that white is having full compensation because he will aim to open up the position. This is not that clear to me, but this is what your engine is going to tell you. Magnus decided to play move d6 to, after all, open up the position, similar to what Rajabov did to him. And he did later on to Giri, e d6, e5. You see that he has doing exactly the same what Rajabov was playing versus him. He is basically copying this plan that he was facing himself when he was playing white. Bishop b2. And okay, here happened bishop g4, which is not exactly precise, because after queen e2, bishop d6 runs into queen e4. And this is somehow unpleasant. Knight e7 probably needs to be played. Knight c4. Bishop g4 was not needed, because if knight f4, queen check, king f7, g3, white is probably better, because knight e6, knight c4, bishop e7. In these positions, sometimes there is enough compensation, because what I once also tried to explain in Nimzo Indians, sometimes when you lose this double pawn, you also open diagonal. So it's not so bad. Is there enough compensation here? Your engine will tell you not, but I will tell you that I think there is more compensation than your engine thinks in a human play. Idea, however, was good to build up a center, but bishop g4 was not necessary. For example, bishop d6 was good enough. Knight c4, and now let's say knight f4, g3, knight e6. We have different situation that Rajabov had versus Magnus, but same principle. I'm having double pawns, but I have very strong pawn center. Endgame is kind of unclear. Another kind of idea for white, instead of h4, can be move like queen e2. And I would like here to show actually one idea of Rajabov, which he played in the Russian teams, I think, versus Alexeyev, which I like very much. Rajabov played here move d5, putting game almost into Nimzo Indian structure, because it is now more or less Nimzo Indian colors reverse structure, almost like some strange Samish. c4, knight g6, g3, a mistake. h4, h5, e5 was needed, f6, the same what we sometimes do with white in a Samish, Nimzo Indian, unclear game. Move g3 was played. Bishop d6, h4. So delaying decision. White wants to say, I'm smart. I'm waiting for you to push h5, then I will push e5. And here Rajabov took excellent decision, which is actually Nimzo Indian Samish type of decision. He took on c4. Why? To define the pawn structure, because suddenly he is getting a square. This is a great plan. This is this Nimzo Indian kind of plan. e5, which in a color reversed you play in a Samish. Botvinnik was the first one to do it. Later on, different people followed up. Okay, I want my knight. Suddenly black is clearly better, because this knight is coming. g3 and h4 was not so smart after all, because it's opening position for my bishop. Knight bd2, knight f8. Double pawns is helping black, because I have these beautiful double pawns controlling the center. So my knight will be supported. White knight can forget about getting to d5. Forget about it. So knight f1, knight e6, knight e3. Well, this knight cannot jump. This knight, oh yes. Black was clearly better, and he won in game Alexeyev Rajabov. So this is, try to remember this kind of plan. Dramatic change of a pawn structure, and black is already clearly better. Very instructive by Rajabov. h4, h5, best move. Queen c7 can be played, but okay, after h5, white is having advantage. Let's say e5, knight bd2, f6, knight f1. White should not, however, make instructive mistake, which Sholak did versus Grishchuk. Sholak played move knight h4. This was European teams, so classical time limit. What is wrong with this beautiful move knight h4? Starting immediate action, well, g5 comes. And now there is no good answer, because you cannot take. Opening a file. And coming back, now black is doing great. d6, knight f1, h6, and f5 is coming. Knight e3, f5. And in Sholak Rishuk, Warsaw 2013, black was already clearly better. Because black is having some sort of dream King's Indian kind of push. Though later on, Rishuk allowed some mistakes and he even lost. But this was the right reaction with g5 in this position. So h5, best move. And e5. And now what does Magnus do? He does a copy on what Rajabov did to him. d6, ed6, knight g6. Happily allowing these double pawns, willing to build up a center. Here, okay, Giri understood that if he allows this, he would be worse. So he played move knight fd2, trying to take advantage of the moment by quick development and hitting some pawns, trying to do quick development, trying to take advantage of the situation. So knight f, d2, bishop d6, knight c4, willing to take a bishop pair. Bishop e2, hitting a pawn. Knight c3. At least what he has managed to do, white has stopped this build-up. So actually, knight fd2 was very smart move. In the case that he made, I don't know, some half move like this, okay, black is already clearly better. So this is a very nice plan. To my knowledge, played then first by Rajaba versus Carlsen, maybe some other people played as well, ed6 and knight g6. And I want to build up my center. Knight fd2, bishop d6, knight c4, bishop e7, knight c3, bishop a6, willing to be ready to take the knight. And then, okay, then I have a 4 versus 3. And we both have double pawns. Knight h4 will be a big mistake, obviously, because g3 back and takes. And black will have problems with his king. So bishop a6, queen f3. Okay, going for active play, which is understandable. g3 was not ambitious, because bishop c4, dc4, let's say queen trade, queen d1, knight d1, it's about equal. So queen f3 is hitting on a black pawn and is also showing ambition. Bishop takes, c4, queen c6 check, king f8, dc4, knight h4, very difficult to judge position. Whose king is weaker? If white's move, castle queenside, was legal move, it would be clear whose king is weaker. But it is not, and there is no time for, because if I play move like bishop d2, unfortunately you chase my queen. And queen does not have a good way, because queen has to stay on diagonal. I mean, such a move obviously does not help. Such a move does not help. And if queen stays on diagonal, well, it's not so simple, because, for example, I have even such a move. And then again, this is a problem. There is also move like f5, but then I need to calculate what happens after queen takes. Knight takes and whatever, but queen d4 is a good move. No need to calculate anything. So white, he cannot do bishop d2 followed by queenside. If white could do this, life would be great. So white castled. Knight f5, trying to improve the knight. Knight e2, logical move, stopping it. Rook d1 is computer suggestion, but this is not human proposal. Your engine will tell you that game is unclear. Knight d4, queen e4, f5, queen d3, h4. This looks, for example, very dangerous. Engine thinks after knight b5 that white is okay, maybe. What Giri played knight d2 is much more human move. Rook c8. Asking very tough question, where does queen go? The other move was simply considering that king is safe on f8, and it is, because king has many pawns in front of himself, and to push g5. With great play for black. Because black pawns are doing something. White pawns 4 versus 2 are doing nothing. Rook c8. Asking a tough question, where does a queen go? Probably move like queen e4 was preferable. Black plays g5 and has a great game, but white will do better than in the game. Queen a4. This queen at some stage would prove to be out of play. Magnus understands very well now with queen a4, which is a mistake. Queen e4 was a better move. That suddenly, if this queen comes to a8 and the knight goes to h4, it's almost a checkmate. Or pawn goes, push, push. This is the problem of move queen a4. And this is probably with what Giri didn't really realize, because queen still needs to come to a8. And that's why move rook c7 happened. Preparing queen a8 and rook d7. Another idea was to play move queen c7 with queen b7 to follow. But rook c7. Bishop f4, rook d7. Queen a8 is coming. c3. Knight g3 was absolutely necessary. Trading the knight and hopefully surviving. After knight g3, fg3. h4, g4. Situation looks very dramatic for white after h3. But your computer will tell you that after queen c6, which is difficult move to play, because g3 is losing to check, king g2, g5, bishop e3, no other square for bishops because there is rook d2, queen a8, rook f3, rook d8, moving a rook. And now what is the problem? Well, problem is that f5 is coming. Let's say rook h1, f5. I will move my king and take. There are no moves. White cannot move any single piece. Queen hopelessly out of place. So queen a4 was really disaster. Bringing queen in play on h3 with queen c6 is the only way to stay in the game, because this diagonal is a crucial diagonal in this game. Ag2. Now queen g2 is a logical move, but after bishop g5 resigns, because rook will come to d2. King g2. Okay, now this rook is hanging, so bishop g5 does not work equally well. Well, we have here rook h4, queen f3. Okay, I would tell you that white is supposed to survive according to engine. Humanly, it doesn't look good, but this was the way to stay in the game, the only way. Giri played move c3, planning to bring the queen back and to take away square from the knight, but now it is already too late. g5. Now brutal kill is going to happen. c3 created a activation threat of rook a d1, exactly what Giri is doing, because bishop h2, h4, rook a d1, rook d1, queen d1, queen a8 with h3 to follow. Same stuff it will happen like in the game, because now it's mating attack. Rook a d1, okay, logical move. Rook d1. Rook d1, queen a8. Queen has come on its killing diagonal. And now mate is to follow. Bishop e5 loses to mating. Queen e4, bishop takes, knight h4, f3, queen e2. Bishop c7 was played but does not change very much. h4. There is no defense against h3. Again, black pawns are doing the job. Black king is perfectly safe. White 4 versus 2 pawns did not do anything. h3 is coming, f3, h3, and resigns. So this game, when I saw it, actually left a huge impression of me by the speed of the demolition Magnus has caused to Aguirre's position. And the probably crucial mistake was actually to leave the diagonal. Queen a4 in a higher sense is a losing mistake, because then for a human becomes very difficult to defend. Queen e4 was necessary, but black would have a great game. So this kind of plan is very dangerous plan for white. g6 followed by knight g6. And I think that e6 is actually out of the ways for a black to fight with these double pawns, that e6 is the best way. And that here black has equal chances. Should white explore on some other moves than bishop c6? There are many moves, but then it's already, you know, this is then already a matter of theory, and then it should be subject of a different kind of DVD. But I will give opinion that if black is playing with the double pawns, this e6 actually, bishop c6, bc6 is the best for black, based on the fact that black has actually this plan, d6 and knight g6. Executed excellently by Aguirre in this game versus, by Magnus in this game versus Aguirre, but idea of Rajabov in a game versus Magnus from 2003 in London, knight e7 and at e5, excellent move, knight g6. Building up on a strong pawn center and gaining an advantage. So I have given here, I have tried to structure the material to give useful middle games ideas. Probably also gave some, I hope to have also given some useful opening information. But I hope that this material would help your thinking process, playing these positions with white or black.